It has been a while since we graphed anything, so I want to make sure we review how to graph and some terms so that we're all speaking the same language when we do some graphing. So the first thing we want to know is that when we graph with x and y coordinates, it's called the Cartesian coordinate system because René Descartes was one of the founders of this system. Or another way to look at it is rectangular coordinate system. There's actually a whole nother way to plot points that involves circles instead of rectangles, but we're not going to do that in this class. So each point in the rectangular coordinate system is an ordered pair. So when we write parentheses, when we're graphing, we're not talking about an interval in this case. That's one of the confusing things, is that we use parentheses for a bunch of things in math. In this case, if we write two numbers separated by a comma in parentheses, we're talking about an x value and a y value. It's called an ordered pair because the order matters. X always comes first and y always comes second. The point 0, 0 is known as the origin. So it's at the center of the graph often, but it doesn't have to be. We don't have to even start at the origin, but that's that initial point on the x and y axes. So let's look at these. I just mentioned the x and y axes. Axes are lines. And so here where it labels y, this vertical line that goes on forever is called the y-axis. And the horizontal line that goes on forever side to side is called the x-axis. So axis is just a way to say like an important line in this case. The y-axis is the place where x is 0. So on the x-axis, the x value is 0 right in the middle. And so the y-axis is actually all the points where x equals 0. The x-axis likewise is where the y value is 0, right? It's not positive, it's not negative, it's right in the middle. So the y-axis is where y equals 0. So all the points on this line have a y value of 0. The other thing we want to talk about are the quadrants. So we use Roman numerals to label quadrants. So we start where x and y are both positive. So notice the x values side to side are positive numbers. The y values up and down are positive. So if x is positive and y is positive, then we're in quadrant 1. Another way to say positive, in this case, is to say x greater than 0 and y greater than 0. So that means the same thing. Being positive is being greater than 0. It's just sort of a quicker way to say it. Then we always go counterclockwise. So the next quadrant is over here. This is quadrant 2. And if we look in quadrant 2, the x values side to side are negative. So x is less than 0 or negative. Oops. The y values, though, are still positive. So y is greater than 0, or you can write the word positive. Those mean the same thing, y being positive or y being greater than 0. All right, let's go down here. When both x and y are negative, so x is less than 0 and y is less than 0, then we're in quadrant 3. And the last quadrant is quadrant 4. Now you may notice that in Roman numerals, 3 is just 3 lines, right? 2 is 2 lines. Then the Romans, they used sort of a base 5. It wasn't, I don't know, exactly a base 5 system. But they used V for 5, so 4 is 1 before 5, and that's how they wrote it. So this means 4 because it's 1 before 5. And in this case, x is positive, but the y values are negative. All right, so at this point, I would like you to pause the video and to try to label all these points, because I hope this is something you've done before. If not, though, if you really can't, you don't have to pause the video, but I think many of us could probably label these points on our own. So try that, but then make sure you check with my answers after you pause it. All right, well, let's see how we did. So doesn't really matter where we start, so I'm going to start here. This point, the x value is 9, and the y value is 0 because it's on that x-axis. On this point, we go over 6, so the x value is 6, and then up 2, so the y value is 2. And notice I'm measuring these from the origin if we're talking about up and over. On this point, we don't move over anything, so the x value is 0, but the y value is up to 4. And then this other point that's in the first quadrant is off my screen on my video. There we go. The x value is 1, the y value is 9. So over 1, up 9. I guess I could also label the origin. So remember, this is called the origin, 0, 0. But let's move over to quadrant 2. In quadrant 2, we have this value. Anything in quadrant 2 should have a negative x value. So if we move over to the left, we're moving in the negative x direction. So here, x is negative 4, but we still go up, so the y value is positive 8. This point over here, I'm going back 7, so negative 7, but then up 3. So y is 3. And it is important that you have the x value first, then the y value. All right, this one, the x value is negative 5, but we don't go up or down, so the y value is 0. All right, quadrant 3, this one, the x value is negative 8, and the y value is negative 2. This one, we have an x value of negative 5 and a y value of negative 6. So those are the 2 points in the third quadrant. On the y-axis here, we have a point where x is 0 because we don't move left or right at all, but the y value is negative 7. 2 more to go. This one is 2, negative 1. X is positive, y is negative. Same thing over here. In quadrant 4, the x value is positive and the y value is negative.